fanboy time.
This is a video response to a comment section war, if you will, under the glitch community that's private. I'm not sure who let this guy in. His name is Psychosis. He's a major fanboy of Xbox, and he's been spreading his lies, hate, and misinformation all along, the glitch community in YouTube, other communities that I've seen. The guy is entirely too ignorant to be messing around with YouTube. He's really misinformed. And this video, the reason why I'm doing a video instead of just replying back to some of his questions that he gave me into the glitch community in the comment section is because I wanted to also shed light on fanboyism and how ignorant it is, and show people their blind slants on their preferred platform. This is not a video that's going to be based on hating Xbox or anything like that. Yes, I'm taking a Sony stance. Yes, I have put my pony hat on. That's in order to provide factual information as to why this dude is a moron. He is making claims to things that are simply not true. If you are a fan of the industry or pay attention to the industry, you know everything he says and or ask questions in regards to is just completely wrong. So anyway, enjoy this video. I would love to see him respond to this because I don't think it's going to be possible, but I do look forward to it. So enjoy. He first responds with, "Silver Sky, nice try, but you'll have to get up mighty early to pull all that garbage on the Xbox elitist like myself who does this in my sleep. By the way, I also study ponyism. This is going to be too easy." Question number 1. Does PS4 have an ecosystem? Is that a serious question? Sir, do you understand what an ecosystem is? The answer is yes. PS3, PS Vita, PS4, PS Now, PS View, PS Music, quote-unquote Spotify. They also have conversations with creators and their own PS original shows, such as Powers. So yes, I would say they have an extensive ecosystem. Let's see. Question number 2. Is PS4 powered by Windows 10? Answer, no. That is true. However, you could argue how it's not having Windows 10 really a bad thing, as you put it, because in a lot of people's opinion, Windows 10 is not the end-all be-all, and they prefer the simplistic UI that the PS4 provides. Next question. Does PS4 have DX12? Now, I'm guessing that he's referring to DX12 being the new API, right? That's going to somehow push the Xbox One past the PS4 as far as performance. That is yet to be seen, and I think you sir, need to do a little bit more homework as to what API does for these consoles. Let me start off by saying that, right out of the gate, the PS4 allowed developers to get closer to the metal, quote unquote, right? So that's the whole goal. DX12 is kind of a buffer between the developer and the hardware, and they are trying to allow developers to utilize the hardware available to them in better ways, right? A Naughty Dog developer kind of touched on this a little bit. He was actually I'm not sure what the developer does at Naughty Dog, I can't remember, but what he says is you have to understand low-level access to the GPU really makes you understand why using DX12 is slow and why it's really just in your way. PS4 allowing you to remap memory pages from its virtual addresses space while maintaining its contents is absolutely amazing. What he's saying is exactly what I said. The goal is to get the developers closer to the hardware, right? Closer to the metal. The PS4 already does that on top of having superior hardware. And this is not, opinion based. You can look this up. This is facts. The PS4 in certain regards is much more powerful hardware wise than the Xbox is. You cannot bring in a software or an API that's going to make up that gap. That's not to say that Sony doesn't have something else that they're working on as well to help better get the developers closer to the metal. And again, in order for DX12 to really make a difference, developers have to fully utilize it. And as we're seeing right now with Parity, most likely they're just going to go for the easiest way to put the game out while maintaining the same graphic fidelity and or frame rate on both consoles and or PC across all platforms, right? That's what we're seeing with Destiny and stuff like that. I personally don't see DX12 being that big of a difference. However, I hope it does because I too own the Xbox One and I'd love to see get better performance out of it because playing games like Battlefield 4 on there is atrocious. It is absolutely atrocious. And there is a night and day difference between Battlefield 4 on the Xbox One, when compared to the PS4. I know like some people like to claim that it depends on how far away from the screen you are and you can't see resolution differences on smaller screens. That's bullshit. Side by side, same monitor, I'm telling you, it is extremely noticeable with jaggies, blurriness, the whole bit. So yeah, your answer or your question is: does PS4 have DX12? No, because they already allow developers to get close to the metal. His next question is: does PS4 have a custom architecture? My answer will be, or is, both feature AMD's Jaguar, which is a low-cost, low-power CPU. Both consoles have a custom version, and both are in fact very similar. They are both 8 CPU cores, each handling one hardware thread at a time. So, what is your point? Next question. Is PS4 backed by one of the richest companies in the world? Yes, question mark. Sony is not a small company. I would simply answer this question, with another question as well, right? Is Xbox One's Microsoft's primarily focus? You see, since PlayStation first launched in the 90s, it has never been Sony's primary focus, and now it is. So what does that mean for the competition, right? What I mean by that is Sony has done amazing things for the gaming industry since it launched back in the 90s, right? So if you take all the systems, PS1, 2, 3, Vita, PSP, all of it, right? And as well as Sony did, they never had PlayStation as a brand, as a primary focus for Sony, right? So you can look at that as a negative or a positive because they were doing really good things on other aspects of their business. At the same side, now that other aspects of their business have not done well at all, they have now focused on the one brand that stayed true and profitable, right? Which is the PlayStation brand. So what does that mean for us gamers? The people that, the thing that actually matters, not just how rich Microsoft is, because we all know that Xbox has been losing, the brand anyway, has been losing them money year after year after year. So how much money is being allocated towards Xbox this day and age? Who knows, right? So your question's kind of flawed in that aspect alone. However, Sony is now focusing primarily on the PlayStation brand. So that's why you're starting to see, like, for instance, 2016, they're dropping over 100 games this year. Not all, exclusive or console, all the BS with that whole term, but they are dropping 100 games this year, right? Some are on several platforms, some are only on PlayStation 4. Either way, we're seeing a ton of content that is also including PlayStation VR, and their focus with VR. Whether or not you believe in VR or not is irrelevant. The point is they're bringing out a ton for us gamers to enjoy over the next few years, a lot of it this year. And so I would say, yes, they are a rich company, like you said Microsoft is. No, they don't have as much money as Microsoft. However, they are also focused on this little thing, this little box called the PlayStation 4. And I, for one, am truly excited about that, as you should be as well, since you claim to be a gamer. He then follows up with another question, which is, does PS4 have the best exclusive titles? That's a really odd question to ask somebody, since that's an opinion, and it varies depending on the user or the person you're asking. So if you were to ask me that same question again, and I was answering on behalf of myself and not just the community, I would say yes, 100%. Because I like variety, I like diversity, I like having, the certain art styles that Sony provides. I like having the certain story-driven type games that Sony provides. To me, I primarily game on Sony's side and have ever since it first came out, since I truly enjoy their exclusive titles more so than what's on the other platforms. So yes, the answer is yes. However, that answer depends on the person you're asking. Quit asking dumbass questions. He then asked if PS4 has a snap functionality. The answer is obviously no, and I personally am glad that it doesn't. I prefer my gaming console to focus its software slash hardware on its primary goal, gaming. But again, that question is answered differently depending on the user or the person you ask. Again, with these dumbass questions. He then asked, does PS4 have free backwards compatibility games? So instead of just saying no, because we know that, I'm going to give you more complex answer than that, because Sony had backwards compatibility with PS3, PS2, and PS1. Nobody ever talked about it. Nobody ever cared. The Wii, or Nintendo in general, has always had backwards compatibility. Nobody really talks about it. And all of a sudden, Microsoft does it 2 years into the new generation, and now everybody wants to go nuts over backwards compatibility. So to me, personally, I don't care for free backwards compatibility. And what I mean by that is, if I want to go back and play an older game, I can do so on those platforms that I already have. Or, if I had it my way, I'd rather have a remaster. And some people will disagree with me. However, I truly enjoyed The Last of Us Remastered. I enjoyed the remake or remasters of the Uncharted collection. I'd rather play the older titles that I love remastered in current gen spec. That's just me. And I think most people also agree with me. The reasons why I say that is because look at the sales of remasters across all platforms. They do very well. And Sony knows that. They know that, providing free backwards compatibility not only costs them a lot of money, but it costs the end users a lot of money. When you launch a console with backwards compatibility, you have to have the specs from last generation integrated into the new consoles, and that costs money. And that's part of the reason why PS3 cost so much at launch, is because they had to be able to include PS2 and PS1, right? There's a cost associated to that. And so their answer to that was PS Now. If you wanted to play an older title, right, and you no longer had those consoles or whatever, you have that availability to do it through PS Now. You can pay for it by title, yearly, monthly, however you want to do it. A lot of people bitch about it, but at least the option's there, right? Not to mention, I could just bring up, do you have cross-buy? Because we do. I can buy a game on PS3. It also works on PS4 and Vita, right? Come on. You can slant this any way you want. But the fact still remains, you're asking this question as if it's a huge positive to Xbox, which it is. I agree. Having BC for free is a really cool thing and an option for those users that use it. However, I personally don't care for it, and most people don't care for it, and that's evident today based off the stuff I already provided you. And to me, that's a little bit too little, too late, right? Let's be honest. The only reason why Microsoft is providing BC for free is because of the race that they're in right now, right? They're heavily outnumbered by the PS4 users, and they are trying anything and everything they can to gain some of their users back. Hey, I'm not knocking them. More power to them. I think it's awesome. I think it works out better for the consumer, for there to be a race like this, and for Microsoft to be bending over backwards to provide their users with more content for free of charge, or more options with like EA Access, for instance. I'm not knocking it. However, me personally, don't care for it, and I would assume, based on sales numbers of remasters and whatnot, that most people would rather have a remaster if they have to play an old game in general. He then asked, does PS4 have any entertainment besides gaming? Like, how does that even a question that enters your mind? Shouldn't you already know that? I don't care if you have a PS4 or not. Like, shouldn't you already know that this question is only answered in yes? However, I'll dive into it a little bit, right? So the answer is yes. I already covered this. I'll remind you, PlayStation has its own original shows, music streaming services, and cloud-based TV network, right? Xbox does not. Either way, both brands provide its users to have access to other forms of entertainment mediums outside of gaming. Sony just has their own branded entertainment quote-unquote apps. Xbox utilizes third parties such as Sling. Next. Does PS4 have a console architecture built for the future? I already covered this, and the answer is no more or no less than Xbox. Next question. Can PS4 connect to over 200 million users on PC or tablets? And my answer is going to be yes and no. PS4 can work with PS3 and Vita, and depending on the game, PC as well. I could ask if Xbox can remote play to an Xbox branded handheld device, be it dedicated to gaming or just an Android device in general. As of today, you can cross-play /cross-buy games for 3 platforms right out of the gate. Furthermore, I, for one, would like to keep PC gaming separate from the console world because it makes the competitive online more challenging. I do not want to have to go up against in a first-person shooter, a guy that's using a keyboard and a mouse on a PC. There's no way that I will ever be able to win that in that battle, right? So for me, I want to keep them separate outside of games like maybe Fable, where it doesn't necessarily matter as much. However, again, that's based on the user as to whether or not they think that's a positive or a negative. So that's that. I mean, you're trying to use that as a huge benefit to Xbox to be able to integrate with Windows 10. However, again, that just depends on the user itself. Was the PS4 built with a future in mind? I can't even. Hopefully, this isn't a serious question. The answer is yes. I'm not even going to dive into it more than that. If you think it was built for 1 to 2 years and no future, I'm just going to stop. That's just dumb. Can you stream PS4 games to PC? Yes. Again, do your homework. My God, what do you do in this industry? Do you play games? Do you research? What do you do? Like, you can't. This is ridiculous. Do people prefer PSN over Xbox Live? Again, with an opinionated question. Yes and no, right? Since I've had both consoles, I've had more issues with Live than PSN, right? I also have multiple friends that also have more problems with Live than PSN. Again, it depends on your region, it depends on the user, and it depends on where you're at, your connection to Live and or PSN. That is the biggest misconception out right now to me is that Live is leaps and bounds better than PSN. I do not see it that way. Share play alone, being able to hand your controller digitally to a friend that doesn't own the same game to allow them to help you beat something like, let's say, I can't get past the boss number 3 in Bloodborne and I need help. So I passed the controller digitally to my brother who's already beat him so he could take over and beat it for me, right? That is huge. That is innovative. That is something that Xbox can't do. You can't stream your party chat to Twitch. You can't stream to YouTube. You can't stream to Dailymotion. You can't upload to Twitch, Facebook, any of that on Xbox. You can't do. You can't record longer than 15 minutes because it's all stored on the cloud. And there's a lot. Look. It boils down to this. There is a lot that you can do on PSN that you can't do on Xbox One or Live and vice versa, right? Again, it boils down to the user's opinion of which service provides the better network for them. His next question is, does PS4 get constant updates or features besides stability? Again, if you did any kind of homework or looked at any kind of gaming news site, you would know this. Yes. For example, SharePlay, Remote Play, Share Factory, Communities, Events Calendar, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Dailymotion support, background music, just to name a few. Again, do your homework, quit having a fanboy slant on everything gaming, and maybe, just maybe, you can start to experience gaming for what it's supposed to be, which is entertainment. Does PSN have a solid online stable network? The answer is yes. Out of 365 days a year, it maintains a network connectivity of 98% plus out of that entire year, which is above industry standards. So, again, do your homework. Does PS4 have an Elite controller? No, but my God, I really wish it did, because I have used the Elite controller, and it is by far my favorite controller that has ever been made, hands down. The thing is amazing. With that said, when you have a controller like that does not launch with the day one console, it provides separation, right, and an unfair advantage to those that have it over those that don't, right? Not everybody can go out and afford a $150 controller. So if you have two like players that are equivalent in skill and that sort of thing on a competitive multiplayer game like Call of Duty, Halo, whatever, and one person has the Elite controller and the other does not, the person with the Elite controller now has the advantage based on money, right? And to me, that's like having or not to me, to others, I should say, I want the Elite controller really bad. It's amazing. To those around me, they claim that it's no different than having paid DLC weapons, right? So you have a game that comes out, and everybody loves it, it's balanced, and then out of nowhere, the developer drops DLC weapons. And if you buy these DLC weapons, you now have a clear advantage over those that don't. And it's essentially the same exact thing. So, yes, you have a point. The Elite controller is freaking amazing. At the same time, there's also a huge negative to it as well. Does the PS4 have functionality outside of gaming? Okay, yes, I've already covered this. I guess you're running out of blind fanboy slants. Next question. Does PS4 have HDMI in and IR blaster connection technology? No. Simply because Sony chose to keep it gaming, just like what you should do. But truthful gaming, I might add. His next question is, does PS4 have a custom 1.75 gigahertz AMD 8-core CPU? Yes and no. It has a 1.6 gigahertz 8-core CPU. However, you're acting as if that's unique to Xbox One, and also makes it hardware more powerful than the PS4. In reality, yes, it has a 1.6 gigahertz AMD 8-core CPU. However, on the other side of it, they have much better hardware. Some say up to 50% better in some cases. So on the GPU side, for instance, and the API that automatically allows the developers to get to the metal. So you're trying to use one small, minute fact that the Xbox One has a little bit faster core or CPU, right? But when you take all the hardware and bring it together, lump it together, the PS4 comes out ahead, way ahead. I could bring up the shaders, for instance. The Xbox One runs a 760 shade. I'm not technical. It's 760 shaders of some sort, right? On the PS4 side, it runs almost 1200. So I mean, we can go all day. I mean, this is just done. Now you're just reaching. Does Sony invest into any of the PS4's advancement features, online networks, or services? Okay, I've already covered this. Your repeat questions are getting really old. I highly suggest you do your homework before putting out this kind of stuff, because if you are talking to a pony like myself, right? So you call me a pony, then you really better know your shit, because right now it's blatantly obvious you have no idea what you're talking about. You basically Googled some things on how is the Xbox One better than PS4, and you went to some biased ass blogs and grabbed some of their key points that were already wrong. Like, do your own homework, do your own research, gather your own thoughts, and this is just ridiculous. So his final question is, does Sony generate any other revenue or have any other successful branches besides the PlayStation brand? Yeah. If they didn't, they wouldn't be around anymore. That's the most ludicrous question you've asked today. Like, look, hopefully this sheds some light onto how ignorant some of these people are, and how them getting the amount of exposure that they do while on these social media sites is actually dumbing down the industry. We need to stop supporting this kind of mentality and move on to true entertainment of enjoying games, talking about gaming in a positive light, in a positive manner, and know your facts, right? I wouldn't have brought any of this up had this dude not been going at it forever in a private community that I'm not even sure how he got into in the first place. Like, that's the only reason why I'm shedding light on this, is to point out that, look, you are a fucking ignorant asshole and you need to move on, right? Do your homework, keep it gaming, keep it fun, and let's get past this, right? I just play games. This is ridiculous. And if you want to challenge me on this, this is what happens. I put you to shame. I put you in your spot. This is why debates that I tried to get in earlier on in the YouTube world, I was turned down, because this is what would have happened, right? I know my shit because as a gamer, I want to know the ins and outs of everything. I own both consoles. I like to know about all of it. I enjoy it. It's fun to me. Aside from that, I do have my preference, which is Sony, because of the research I've done, because of my history with them, because they provide the titles that I want to play, because they provide, new innovative features, right? Like with PSVR, Share Now, Share Factory, Remote Play, all that, right? I enjoy all that. This is just, I'm just going to end it there. Let me guys know what you think in the comment section. Are you getting tired of the quote-unquote console war? Are you getting tired of these fanboys from all sides spewing their slants? Let me know. I look forward to it. Look forward to hearing them in the comment section, and thank you so much for checking this video out. Oh my goodness. No, damn it.
Damn it.
Pony, what are you doing?